India and Pakistan have been at the brink of a major war, a major escalation between these two nuclear superpowers was keeping the world in the news cycle in a tight grip until a ceasefire was reached. And this happened as I predicted on this channel when in 24 I made a video on Pakistan and India astrology. And I foretold my viewers here that 25, 26, we were going to see a massive escalation. And it happened like clockwork, as the cosmic cycles are so telling about the energies and the time qualities that we live through. So now it's a very good time to do another deep dive and to look at the astrology again more carefully to see if it's over or if there is still more escalation on the horizon. So I did a video here last year in 24 where we looked at the astrology of Pakistan and India, and it was really clear to me that there was going to be a massive escalation. We also did a deep dive into the DNA of Pakistan to understand how this nation works and what the driving factors and the tensions are. And we saw there that there's these massive tensions, unresolved tensions that may break out at any time and when they're triggered by the right astrological constellations. Now, this is what happened in 25. And, in April when there was a terrorist attack by a group that is affiliated with Pakistani government, or that is somehow, at least it's not completely eradicated and stopped by the Pakistani government. From the Indian perspective, Pakistan has fought for this. And this led to an escalation, an attack by India on Pakistan, another attack by Pakistan on India. And it was, for a short time, it looked like it's going to go to a full-out war, and obviously on the contentious issue of Kashmir. And then a ceasefire was reached, brokered by lots of international states. And now the question is this going to remain? Is it going to remain this way? Is the ceasefire going to be held? Or will there be a new escalation? Is it not going to hold? So that's what we're going to answer in this video. We're going to look at the astrology of Pakistan, India, and at the truce, the ceasefire, the chart of the ceasefire, because the chart of the ceasefire tells us a lot about the energy of that moment and of that contract. Like any contract, if you go and do business, if you sign deals or if you sign any contract, basically, there is a chart for that contract, right? The chart for that contract shows you how it's going to play out to some extent. It shows you the energies that are constellated, right? In that moment when it's signed, when that deal is signed, or when a law comes into place, anything like that, right? So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to look a little bit ahead at the cycles and at the transits to give an outlook on what Pakistan and India await, what awaits for them in the coming time, right? So let's start with the astrology of the moment of this terrorist attack, because it tells us really, it's so telling, right? So if we look at the astrology of this recent escalation, we're going to see here that we had this constellation. We had here Pluto is basically on the MC of Pakistan, and it's been there for some time, and it was getting closer and closer, and it was kind of pretty much exactly on the MC. And then at the same time, you had Mars here at the bottom, okay? And Mars and Pluto were forming this opposition. And then you had the Sun in here too. The Sun was just coming in here to trigger as a T-square, so-called T-square, right? So it's this constellation that I saw last year when I saw the Pluto on the MCs. That's the constellation that I saw, and I started the investigation. I told you on this channel that we're going to have a massive escalation, right? And it's on the day, it's exactly on the day when this constellation was triggered, right? The day when it was triggered in the strongest way possible, because April 22nd is when the Sun is here and forms this T-square and really activates this. All the energies are activated here, right? That's the day when we had the terror attack. Right? So this terrorist group, which is a Pakistani terrorist group, right? which is somehow is affiliated or not. Well, that's the question, right? Is it supported? Is it not supported? Why is it not eradicated if it's not supported? The military, certainly certain aspects of the Pakistani military, secret services, and so on, they are certainly supporting these groups, right? Otherwise, how can you operate from the territory of Pakistan, from the territory of the country, if you're not supported by this massive military? This is it's a huge military that Pakistan has with secret services. They control things. So surely they will have some hand in this, right? And it's going to be on this day that you see that this attack happens. Right? This attack happens, and shortly afterward, obviously, this leads to a massive escalation. India retaliates, and India started an Operation Sindoor to attack, to retaliate, basically, to strike these terrorist organizations. And then there was another thing that happened, which is very interesting, which is that the water supply was closed for the common water, the joint water that's held by in the Indus River system. The Indians came and they said, like, we have a treaty with you, but this treaty is now not valid anymore until you're gonna shut down these terrorist groups. And they closed the water supply, right? And this is really interesting because it's so telling and precise and exact how things are written in the astrology. One of the big constellations of this year is obviously Saturn-Neptune conjunction. We've talked about this many times on this channel. We have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction this year, right? In Aries. So Neptune rules what? Rules water, the waterways. Neptune, literally in the Greek mythology, Neptune is the god of the water, right? The water god. So Neptune, Poseidon in Greek, right? Neptune rules the water. Saturn is limitation, closing down. Saturn is the one that closes things, that says no, right? And they're both in Aries, first degree of Aries. Aries is what? Aries is what? Is war, right? War, fighting, war. So you have conflicts erupting where waterways are shut, water is shut down, or waterways are shut down, right? So you're gonna think, what does it mean? Canals, everywhere in the world where you have canals, Panama Canal, Suez Canal, right? Everywhere where you have like these ways of water, Strait of Hormuz at the Persian Gulf, right? Taiwan, around Taiwan, the waterways of Taiwan, right? Everywhere where you have waterways, there's going to be a major focus of war in this year, or potential conflict erupting. And here you had what? A perfect archetypal fit where India comes and says, we're going to close the water. The water is closed, no more water for you. And the Pakistan government said this is an act of war, right? Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif came and said, this is an act of war. You closed our water. This is going to be, have a massive effect on our people's livelihoods and so on, right? So now you see, it's just insane how precise the astrology is, because this Neptune Saturn conjunction, right, is here. You see this here? It's here, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It's this, I'm not on the exact date, but it's there the whole time. It's in an exact square to Pakistan's Mars, you see? So literally the image here reads, closing of waterways, right? War, leading to war, right? Square Mars. Mars is obviously war, right? So leading to some type of conflict or war. And the Mars is in the second house, so the resources. Pakistan fights for its resources, right? And its resources are being cut down here. The waterway resources are being cut down, right? So again, perfect, absolutely perfect fit of the astrology here and the archetypal symbolism, right? And then let's move ahead. And then what happened? It was a treaty, ceasefire treaty, a truce treaty that was signed by Pakistan and India on the 10th of May with the, under the supervision or the mediation of foreign powers. That's what they said. Foreign powers were mediating. And Pakistan came out and said thank you to Qatar and Turkey and so on. It's questionable how much were they actually involved. But the chart of that moment is so interesting and so telling. I'm going to show you the chart, and you got to understand what I'm saying, why I'm saying this, right? And then make sure to watch this video till the end. At the end, I'm going to tell you where and when I think things are going to evolve further, where they're going to evolve further, and what's going to happen to Pakistan specifically, right? Before I get there, make sure, if you haven't done so yet, to go and check out the Ascension Report, which is a absolutely revolutionary tool, an insights tool that we have launched recently that combines your personal astrology and your numerology, and that gives you insights on a level that you have not seen before. This really blows out of the water any type of astrology and numerology report that has been done so far and that has been, created and sold on various other platforms. This is a completely new thing. And currently, you can still get a real big discount on this, which is just for the YouTube family, just for the YouTube viewers and subscribers. And it's called YouTube50 is the coupon code that you need to apply. Go on the link ultrasapien.network and you can apply it there. And it's still available for some time only. And you can get the Ascension Report there at this massive discount. So now, that being said, let me get into the insights about the truce chart. The chart for this particular treaty that was held, right? The treaty. So this chart is for May 10th, 2025, India-Pakistan ceasefire, right? And this chart, it doesn't look like a chart that you want for a ceasefire. Very, simply said. Obviously, okay, you have here Saturn with Venus. Makes sense. Saturn with Venus, right? You're going to have diplomatic, structures, limitations, agreements, you could say as well. But Neptune is here too, right? Neptune obviously is currently here. And that's okay. That's already not, whatever is going to be agreed is going to be very potentially deceptive, potentially misleading, right? That's already a problem. And then look at the rest of the chart. This is like a very, very warlike, brutal, tense chart. You got here the moon opposition with moon opposite Mercury. So things are said that are not really understood, or things are said, the intentions and what is said and written does not agree with each other. And then you have that in a square to Pluto here at the bottom. So there are powerful manipulative interests that are involved in this and that are kind of playing the different sides here. Powerful manipulative interests where things that are said and things that are felt or intended are not agreeing with each other. They're in a big tension with each other. And then you also obviously still have the Pluto-Mars opposition here, right? So the warlike, kind of deeply held grudges that are here. And then Sun with Uranus. So things could suddenly erupt out of it. This is just looking like a very, very bad time to make a deal. And it's very surprising. I mean, Pakistan and India both have obviously a lot of astrologers. Both in Pakistan and India really know astrology, right? And from both, there's both, obviously the Pakistanis look at from the tropical zodiac side and because, based in the Islamic tradition of astrology, which is connected to the Western and Hellenistic tradition, and the Indians know from the sidereal perspective, Vedic astrology. So you have all of the knowledge there together, right? So it's very surprising to see okay, how would you make an agreement under this chart, with this chart, which then this chart, okay, when is it going? Is it going to, what's going to happen with this chart? Very likely going to blow up. And even when you look at it from orrery perspective, the moon is kind of the final aspect that it's going to make is in opposition to Mercury. Okay, even from orrery perspective, this looks like a chart that is going to blow up, right? That's not going to be held, an agreement that is not going to hold, right? Now, if you add the deeper perspective, right, the asteroids that I always do, you get so much more information. You got here, Jupiter was Russia and Washington, right? Russia and Washington. So the parties that mediated this peace, they were most likely Russia and the USA. Nobody else. It was just Russia and the US. They set this up, right? Nobody else. Everybody else was just trying to take credit for something, right? They were maybe just kind of, in the middle on the phone line or something. And then what else you got? You got here, look, Aries. Aries stands for fight, arguments. Geographos. Ariadne stands for the recurring karmic confrontations. Eternitus, eternal. The eternal geographical battle of a nation, right? Moon is here. Moon stands for nation or people, right? Of a nation, which is very painful. Chiron is here too. Chiron is here, is in this constellation too. Okay, and what else? There is something that's super interesting here. Here, this constellation that we had here, where we have here the Rahu Ketu axis. Okay, here we have a constellation, and this is basically an opposition. I know how well you can see this here. I might have to zoom a little bit. So here, the Rahu Ketu axis. Okay, this is the karmic axis. Here you got you see Gandhi is here, and then this is an Aztec an asteroid that stands for an Aztec god who stands for deception. Okay, and then you have here Hagar and Al-Qaid. So Hagar is symbolically stands for Islam, right? So Hagar is, there was the two the roots of Ishmael, from the Abrahamic story, basically. Hagar stands for symbolically for Islam, and Al-Qaid stands for what? Al-Qaid, as the name tells you, it stands for radical organizations, right? Al-Qaid is a star, is a fixed star. Even before Al-Qaeda existed, right, with Osama bin Laden and so on and so forth, this star had been recognized by ancient astrologers as standing for radical organizations. So think about it. How much the divine providence shows itself in the cosmic patterns, and even down to the asteroids, which only gets their names much later, right? The asteroids and the stars, obviously, the stars are much older. They're known for much longer. So you have here, radical Islamic organizations are opposing the peace, and Gandhi stands for what? Gandhi stands for the desire to make peace, basically, amongst the different community, amongst the different groups of the Indian subcontinent, amongst the Islamic and the Hindu and the other everybody, basically, amongst the whole Indian subcontinent, right? And also for, you could say, two-state solution. Gandhi stands for that too, right? And deception you have here. Deception, Gandhi, and opposed by radical Islamic groups. And this is on the karmic axis, the Rahu Ketu axis, right? So this is in addition to what I just showed you before when I said that this truce is not going to hold, right? This is not going to hold, and you know now why already. I showed you why it's not going to hold, right? These organizations are not controlled enough by Pakistan. There's these radical Islamic Salafistic organizations, right? They're killing people inside Pakistan, but they're killing people in India. Obviously, they're attacking people, and they're not under enough control by the government. The government of Pakistan says that, we don't know and so on, but in reality, they're backing them. Certain strands of the Pakistani government, whether it's the military, whether it's the Secret Service, are backing them. They're not allowing the eradication of these groups, and they should be eradicated, obviously, right? So be that as it may, let's have a look at the upcoming transits for this conflict to understand where the story is going to, what's going to happen next, right? So when we look at the chart of Pakistan first, right, and I'm going to show you here the aspect that triggered this whole thing, which I've been talking about, which is the Pluto on the MC, right, which was triggered by that Mars opposition. And this aspect, it's basically staying there for a long time. It's kind of going out of aspect right now, a little bit, right, over the next part of the year. It's moving back, and it's kind of going less and less into aspect. So by the time you get into the latter part of the year, it's basically pretty far away. By October, you see here, it's not so close anymore, although it's getting closer and closer again to the opposition with Moon, which this is like kind of public upheavals. You had when this was exact in the 22, 23, 22 kind of thing, you had the Imran Khan story, right? You had like the Imran Khan uprising, and he's being ousted and imprisoned and so on, and the people's uprising. And this is going to be a topic again for the kind of second part of 25. And then so there's going to be public unrest again. It's going to kind of flare up a little bit. And then as things progress, you have basically the same aspects coming back again. You have here the Saturn-Neptune. They're starting to come back in 26. They will really come back full force again, and they will hit Mars again. And then you're also going to have here this Mars, the transiting Mars, you see with all of these other planets here, is on top, and it's going to really trigger exactly this axis again pretty hard in January. See here in January, it's together with Pluto, and it's on this axis, and at this time the Saturn-Neptune is here too again, and we have basically the same constellation that we had in April 25. It's going to happen again in January 36. The same thing, just like with Mars being on top instead of on bottom, right? So this doesn't bode well for the cessation of this conflict, because I showed you the truce that was signed was not really a truce. I mean, it was not really a long-standing solid peace of any sort, right? It was like a very complicated, very uneasy, very hard, very tense, and potentially deceptive ceasefire that was signed. And then I just showed you the constellation that triggered this whole thing is coming back in January 26, right? So, and then for 26 going forward, for 26, there is things that I had showed you in the previous video where it would look very clear that this conflict is going to escalate, and that's not off the table as well, right? So 26, going into 26, people should be very careful. People should be very careful. Any endeavors. I mean, it's not like you can protect yourself really from if something goes off, but people should have this on your mind that, it's going to be good to pray for higher forces, for divine forces and divine guidance, to bring calmness and to bring balance and to bring mercy to the minds of the people, and maybe, help whoever has the power to do so to really, stop and eradicate these terrorist groups that exist, simply, that exist and that are making a lot of trouble in this region, right? So that being said, what about who can do this actually in Pakistan? Who can do this? So Shahbaz Sharif, who is the prime minister, he has actually very hard aspects, transits coming up right now. I'm not going to go too much into this, but just a little bit so you see. So he has currently a very difficult constellation where here you got basically the transiting Saturn and Neptune is opposing his sun and is in a square to his moon, right? So you can see this here. This is super hard, super debilitating, really, really somehow like he's being sacrificed and blocked from all sides. And this is a very, very hard transit. I don't think he's going to last long in this situation, because obviously this is going to continue, and this transit that I just showed you is going to continue. I don't think he's going to last long in this situation. So what will happen to Pakistan? Who will come to power? I'm not going to go too much through all the charts, and that would make this video too long. But just this much, that Imran Khan, who a lot of people are hoping may come back, he actually had his best chance and his best shot in the previous year, in 23, 24. He had a shot in 24, but that's gone out now. That opportunity window has closed. And he's not in anywhere, he doesn't look at all like he has a chance, astrologically speaking, for the coming years. So who's it going to be? Probably Nawaz Sharif, or maybe Benazir Bhutto's son, his name is what? Bhutto Zardari. He's probably going to have a chance. Bilawal Zardari, right? He's probably gonna have a chance. Maybe it's going to be more likely actually Nawaz Sharif. Probably doesn't make a huge difference, because the person who could actually come and make a real difference is Imran Khan. Imran Khan has the popular support, and he has the aura and the charisma and the power to come and change the course and the destiny of the nation. Nobody else has that. The Sharifs, the Bhuttos, and so on, they don't have that. Imran Khan has that. So is it possible for Imran Khan to come back later, maybe after unfortunately, there is an important confrontation in the books right now? That's what it looks like. There is an important confrontation in the books. And obviously, I didn't look much at India's perspective on this in this video, but for India, this is going to be a very, very difficult karmic confrontation. And this confrontation over the next few years is actually going to involve the essence of India. The essence of India. So India has this whole Pluto transit over its sun, and this is going to get more and more exact over the coming years, 26, 27, right? So it's going to be about a deep transformation of what India is. And obviously Pakistan is pulled into that, and this escalation could get very, very harsh and very hard in the coming years. And it's part of this big transformation of what is India, who is India. I'm not referring to India right now as the nation state, but India, the civilization, the Indian civilization, Bharat, right? Bharat, or, there's obviously the whole conversations around whether Bharat should be undivided, Akhand Bharat, whether it should be a civilization state that includes all of these parts, some of which are the most oldest parts of which are now in Pakistan, obviously, right? And Pakistan has obviously thousands of years of sitting on thousands and thousands of years of that historical karma and that historical memory and that historical power as well. But this is not going to be an easy situation. Definitely not something that we can just tackle and discuss so quickly in here. How is this going to resolve? How is this going to, evolve? And Pakistan obviously has too a very powerful claim to a strong part of the history of India, which is the part that is strongly colored by the Middle Eastern influence, by the Middle Eastern and especially the Persianate influence, which was so many empires, Mughal Empire and so on, that ruled over India and that brought a lot of that, marked a very important part of the culture and civilization of India, right? So that being said, this is a complex story. This is a very complicated and complex story. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this and how you think how things are going to evolve. I just showed you that in the astrology, unfortunately, this war is not, or this crisis is not over. The next, the coming time, 26, it's very, very highly likely to escalate even higher than before, right? And it's important to make preparations for this and to understand that this whole confrontation is part of an important transformation of the entire Indian civilization, which is going to go on over the next few years. And now, at this point, I'm going to leave it at this. Let me know in the comments how you think this will evolve and how this will unfold. This can be an open conversation and debate, and obviously it's for the Indians and Pakistanis to understand and to resolve this issue and to reach a higher level of consciousness and evolution, which is going to be important for all of humanity as well. Now, I'll leave you with this, and be well, and make sure, if you haven't done so yet, don't forget to go and get the Ascension report. It's still there for some time. The link is going to be below, ultrasapien.network. You can still get the very, very significant discount on this. And then, we'll see you in the Ultrasapien network as well, because the report is not just a report, it's also an entry key into the network. Now, be well and be blessed. All the best.